also have offices, we have offices in 30 cities in 3 states, Texas, Mississippi, and Louisiana. And we are basically a fiber optic-based internet telecom company. You saw those submarine cables connecting different parts of the world together. That's what we do here in West Texas, Louisiana, North Texas, and in Mississippi. And we are pretty much high-tech. I just wanted to let you know that we are I would say, the most high-tech company in terms of telecom in the state of Texas. I would say number 2 would be Google. So if you're looking at technology-wise, it's no longer the domain of large companies. It's also the domain of small companies now, really effective companies. Just want to let you know, 25 years ago, I was sitting right here and listening to Dr. Anwar and many other doctors, Dr. Gerlich, and it's a pleasure to come back. Thank you very much for inviting us back. Appreciate the welcome from the faculty and WT. And quick introduction. Along with me, I have 2 of my colleagues, Angel Kandahari. She's the Executive Vice President of Sales and Advanced Services. And Tony Hernandez, the Director of Sales for the Amarillo and Wichita Falls area. So we're glad to be here. James, great presentation. Where did James go? Oh, there he is. Okay, a great presentation on IoT. That is truly changing the world. There's no question about it. And I'd really appreciate if all of you guys paid really good attention, especially the young students in the classroom, because it took 25 years to get from where you are sitting to where I am here today, and it's going to take Dr. Gerlich. There he is. I was in his class too, of course I remember. So things are going to move very, very fast, very, very fast. And I just wanted to give a small snippet of the future that might happen very, very fast for you guys. It's going to happen literally in a blink of an eye. Let me put it this way. If you guys are in the 20, 21-year-old bracket, if anybody's in that bracket, by the time you're going to be 30, 31, just think about it. Things will be radically different. It's not like the way it took time for me. And I know a lot of you guys would be thinking, my main focus is get into WT, get myself a degree, get that piece of paper, walk the stage, go find a job, and that's it, right? Go earn money, go out there, explore the world, and do those great things. What you must realize, guys, that you are going to have another billion kids just like you who are on the race for climbing up that ladder, if not billions more. In the old days, it used to be, good education used to be the domain of the rich countries or some of the countries that could afford all these things. It's going to be totally different because stuff like this is going to make knowledge available for everybody around the planet. So you're going to have billions of people fighting for the same job that you're looking for. So I'll touch on that a little bit later on. Dr. Anwar asked me to do that, so I'll do that a little bit later on. But let's talk about 5G. So please listen to this, and then you'll be able to understand where things are, how things are evolving. So now you've got IoT, Internet of Things. You got a widget. You got that small tile. That's a very nice tile. It works on NFC. If you've got a Samsung phone, you can use NFC. You can also use it on the iPhone, and it actually will really hyperconnect any device, your remote. Don't drop it in your girlfriend's purse so that you can track where she is all the time. Do not do that. That's not fair, okay? Or your boyfriend's wallet. Don't do that. That's illegal. So, but bottom line is, these are the things that can be done where you can track things everywhere. And what does that do? It delivers to you tons and tons and tons of information. Now, that's important. It's all about information. This is a tool which will produce information. And James used a word called insights. Insights means, what are you going to do with all that information? That's important, right? You got the information of where that bus is on WT. So you can say, hey, you know what? It's going to take another 15 minutes for the bus to come. Let me just go to McDonald's and go get myself a sandwich. You did something with that information, right? So information is king, guys. Information, you are part and parcel of information. If anybody thinks they're off the grid in this room, you're sadly mistaken. You have a social security number, you're being tracked. You have a passport, you're being tracked. You can be tracked. If you have a phone, you can be tracked. You're paying a bill, you can be tracked. When you get your electric bill, it says, typically in a month, in a year, in June, you typically have a high consumption because of air conditioning, and in winter it goes down. You see that, it says, my bill in the whole year is around $500 or $600. Somebody is tracking that information. They have got the tools to gather that information from your electric grid and personalize it for you. And that's called insights, and that's really important. So that type of connectivity is being done today with what we call 4G technologies, which is a 15 up, 15 down speed on your cell phone. It's being done over fiber optics, a gig up and gig down. With 5G technologies that are coming out, it's going to be a gig up to 5 gigs up and 5 gigs down on your internet. Why would you need a Wi-Fi service at home? If your phone or if your device or your TV at home is going to be connected at 5 gigs up and 5 gigs down, your toaster can be connected to the cell tower, your watch to the cell tower, the tile to the cell tower. Why do you need a Wi-Fi connection at home or a cable modem at home? Think about it. The reason you had that is because your cell phone was slow and you needed to have a fast internet connection at home, right? So what's happening is now that not only it's faster, that's not really important. That's, how fast do you need things to be? That's not really that important. What's important is the latency. Latency is how slowly the information is sent from you to the server on the web and back. When you look at a photograph on Facebook, somebody posts a photograph on Facebook. It takes 40 milliseconds, 80 milliseconds to get there. It's like, not that bad, right? You try to do that a billion times and things will start slowing down. With 5G, the latency of 40, 50 milliseconds goes down to 3 milliseconds. What does that mean? Let me give you an example. If you're looking at a surgeon doing surgery, and the surgeon is sitting here in Canyon, Texas, and the patient is in New York, and you have robotic surgery. It's been going on for a while. It hasn't been very successful, and the reason is very simple. When the surgeon puts his hands into the system and he's using VR goggles and he's manipulating the instruments, which is cutting or using the scalpel on the patient in New York. There is a delay. It's not the 40-second delay from here to the cell tower. Now you add the delay from the Canyon cell tower to the Amarillo box, if you may call it, for the network. From Amarillo to Dallas, Dallas to New York, New York to the cell tower near the hospital, cell tower to there. It's a good, decent, maybe a second or 2 seconds delay. So you cut open the person's skin, and by mistake, by the time you say you make a mistake and you have blood gushing out of an artery, few seconds delay by the time you get your wits together. That's a lot of delay in today's network. That's going to go down by nearly 100%. I would say 99% by 5G, which means as you cut the patient on the other side, you'll be actually able to feel what's happening. It's that fast. Between fiber optics and 5G, you'll be able to do things real time. You will be sitting on hybrid virtual reality sets, and you will not feel like the virtual reality sets of today. How many people have used VR here today? Okay, have you seen the screens, how blocky they are, how blotchy they are? You've got a handful of apps that you can use. Imagine if it is right now, the way you're looking at me right now is the way you'll see it on that screen. It is fantastic. You will be no difference. You want to have a vacation in Moscow tomorrow and you want to go to Russia, don't sit on a plane. You just put on your VR goggles and you can be able to look at things and be able to experience things real time as it's happening right now. That's where 5G is going to help you guys. And what's going to happen is going to give you a plethora of information. And that information will have to be distilled because you're just using it. You don't really care how you get it, right? So it needs to be distilled. When you get too much information, you need it in bullet points, right? And that's where IoT is going to be part of two things. One, there's going to be an IoT on the cloud, and there's going to be IoT on the edge. What is IoT on the edge? Edge means closer to you. So when you have that information that is closer to you, for example, you're standing at the WT bus stop, and you're saying, okay, I've got the bus coming in, and it's going to take another 10 minutes to come, so I can go to McDonald's, and I can go get a burger at McDonald's and come back, and I'll be fine because McDonald's is right across the street. It's going to take 15 minutes, right? How cool would it be if that information is actually delivered to McDonald's without you asking, and that's called artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence will do two things. It will take the information from the edge of the network, which is around you, not something far away in the cloud. And it will say, Cyrus typically comes around 12, 12:30 every afternoon. He stands at this bus stop. He's habitually early. He stands there for 45 minutes. He tends to feel hungry around this time. And he tends to gravitate towards McDonald's. And he typically gets a burger and fries and a large drink. 60% of the times. 20% of the times he goes to Pizza Hut, he does that. All that calculation is done real time as it automatically generates this information. It's all algorithms being managed all this time. And it goes out there and it gives a heads up to McDonald's, and there's a higher possibility of Cyrus coming down through the door to fetch this burger. So might as well have a couple of patties ready and keep one for him. So that's how we are going to be having, and this is all going to happen, guys, literally within 10 years. So think about your, and this is what that's really important, is to understand how fast your life is going to change. Trust me, whether you like it or not, whether you're a techie person. Some people are like, I'm not a techie person, I don't understand this stuff. You either will be on this train willingly or you'll be dragged on it. So it is important that you pay attention to all these things. Go on the web, educate yourself, and see what's happening. We do this all the time. We are on the cutting edge of technologies. We do this all the time, or we are out it in a heartbeat. And it gets tough, because it only gets tough if you're not excited about doing that. And so guess what? So what do we have? We have got 5G. It takes the information from your IoT device. It gives it to a computing system called artificial intelligence. How many of you guys studied the Schrodinger equation in college? Anybody remembers the Schrodinger equation in college? Like, I don't want to remember that stuff. That was chemistry stuff. Who wants to remember all that stuff? Guys, that stuff is pure basic math. And artificial intelligence is not electronics. It's 100% mathematics. You like it or not, whether you're in medicine, you're an artist, you're a sculptor, you're an engineer, doesn't matter. It's going back to mathematics. Now, they'll make it easy for you to understand, but at the end of the day, you'll be using these type of things called Schrodinger equation, and that is what's used with quantum computing. Today in computers, what do we have? Ones and zeros, right? You're either there or you're not there. It's either off, the switch is either off or it's on. Very simple. I look at something and it's there or it is not there, right? We are soon going to be moving to quantum computing, because you can't handle all this information on regular computing. Binary computing is going to be quantum computing. And quantum computing is a weird state, if you may call it. It's a weird state of mathematics where you have got various states of superposition and entanglement. I don't know if anybody has studied that in the mathematics class, but this is old math. This is what Albert Einstein had put in 1926. So this is old stuff. It's coming back. It's basic mathematics. Let me explain to you why am I going there. In a binary system of computing, you have got yes or no, 1 or 0. You're there or you're not there. So what's your good name? Evelyn. So Evelyn, thank you, Evelyn. Evelyn is here. I can see Evelyn. Evelyn is not in that seat. There's no Evelyn. Binary system. In quantum computing, I can look here and I'll see Evelyn. And at the same time, I shut my eyes, I look here, I'll be able to see Evelyn. Evelyn will exist in two places at the same time. So now you have 1 or 0, you got two things happening. You'll have 1, 0, 1, 0, and 1, 1 at the same time, 0, 0 at the same time. Truly. And the thing here is, for example, anybody understands polarization? Anybody has studied horizontal and vertical polarization? A beam of light has got two polarizations. You've got horizontal and vertical polarization, right? And that's why you put polarized sunglasses and you cut off the glare. You're basically chopping off one type of polarization. So instead of just seeing whether the beam of light or photon of light is moving forward, is there light or there's darkness, you're now also counting the polarization. So at the same time, so light is present on both polarizations at the same time. So that's why Evelyn will be here. I close my eyes and look here, she will be there right at the same time. These are called that's called a weird sense of mathematics. What it adds is, it adds another level of computing power, and that's called quantum computing. And quantum computing is going to totally revolutionize the way we are doing artificial intelligence. So now what do you have? You got a billion of these devices, billions of these devices that's tracking everything. But you don't want all this information. You want it automatically to come up with an answer. That's done by artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence is mathematics, but it's now dealing with much more data than the conventional computer or supercomputer is using today. So guess what? You'll have to use quantum computing. So at the end of the day, you will see that your life will change actually very fast, not because they're making more of these devices. It's because that will generate so much information that there will be new forms of computing and artificial intelligence that will start learning things on their own. Does anybody know the meaning of the word singularity? Not in the astronomical sense, but in the technological sense. As you might have heard, who's that physicist who passed away 2 weeks ago? Hawkins. He mentioned that, Elon Musk mentioned that, Mark Zuckerberg mentioned that, any scientist worth his salt mentions that. The singularity is going to happen between 2030 and 2050 is what we think right now. What is singularity? Basically, in simple terms, singularity means the machines will rule. We will all be slaves of the machines. Think about that. It's not a fun place to be. And it can be controlled, obviously, but at the end of the day, when you have artificial intelligence learning how to self-develop to the next level of intelligence, they don't need you. You'll have computers talking to computers and taking over. They can take over the electric grid, the telecom grid, food supply, water supply, logistics, transportation, airplanes flying in the air, and everything. So the reason I'm saying this is not about a doomsday scenario. There are positive things that come along with this, which allows us to be more productive and more in control. We can spend our life doing more meaningful things than really ridiculous mechanical things that get us nowhere. So just be aware of this fact. The only thing that you can take away from this whole experience today is, very simply put, do not sleep in class. Remember this, do not sleep in class. Pay attention to what's happening. Be hyper vigilant about your surroundings, about what you're learning. Listen to what knowledge your professors have. Suck it in, because I'll tell you, at the end of the day, when it is you versus the machines, you got to start digging deep into the past and learning from the past, and learning from what wisdom was departed to you, given to you by your professors. We are now right now doing quantum computing based upon what Albert Einstein actually first started in 1906. And we are doing it now, and you think it's cool. And Albert Einstein passed away many years ago. Why? At the end of the day, you're coming back to mathematics. Artificial intelligence is mathematics. This is mathematics. Everything is mathematics. Whether you like it or not, whether you love math or not, whether you're a math major or not, doesn't matter. It will influence your life. So the thing here is, learn from what you're getting in the classroom. And that's one thing I want to switch over to what Dr. Anwar was mentioning, is you got to understand the impact of these things on your life. Now, talking about marketing, this is the AMA seminar. How does all this impact you in marketing? Right now, you want to, McDonald's says, okay, we typically sell, say, 6 billion burgers a year. And that allows, and how do they get that information? Focus groups, data information, you buy the stuff on the web where you can get data from the web. Now, your information as you purchase, or even if you think about going to McDonald's, and you set a pattern that Cyrus goes to McDonald's every Wednesday around 12:30 in the afternoon, that information will go from artificial intelligence straight to McDonald's. So in terms of marketing, McDonald's knows the trends. It'll say, we will sell 6 billion pieces of hamburgers last year. That's what we did last year. We're going to sell 7 billion hamburgers this year. And there's also a 90% chance of people like Cyrus buying a hamburger around 12:30 in the afternoon on a Wednesday. And there are 40% of them who will never come back again, and there are 50% of you can get that information real time from artificial intelligence. Because what James mentioned is that you have IoT and it creates insights for you. It creates this database. And this database is taken and can be used for marketing. So marketing will change, totally change. What does marketing do? Marketing supports money. If marketing provides a level of information that companies can use to go and invest in and make more money, they will now know things a lot faster than in the old days. And also they will be able to predict where do they buy their raw materials from, where do they buy beef from, where should they buy bread from, where they should buy Coke from to support this Happy Meal that Cyrus is going to buy. So they can go ahead in advance and they can start bargaining or negotiating on pricing. You see that? So it's not only you get a higher probability of what's happening very quickly. Things change every day. You make a decision as a company to buy a certain amount of raw materials to make these burgers. Things change every day. They actually change every second. But we couldn't harness that information. Between IoT, 5G, artificial intelligence, and quantum computing, you will get that information. If you can pay for it, you will get that information real time, which means you can change your budget as a company from spending $1 billion a month. You can change it every day and say, okay, things are not looking good as of last couple of days. And the reasons could be plentiful. And all the information is recorded on artificial intelligence. For example, he's not been there for the last 4 days. Cyrus is not at the bus over the last 4 days. What's happening? What they didn't record was it was raining. It's a very uncomfortable place to stand there in the rain. There was no shelter, for example. So he's not there because it's raining. That doesn't mean he stopped having burgers. You see that? That information is critical. So that information about weather conditions, humidity conditions, the pattern, maybe today he had to walk 6 miles. He's like, I'm done. I'm just going to order something off the web. So think about that. My car broke down. But when you have IoT, all the information will be connected. You'll be able to see, you saw the Tesla car, you'll be able to see, go there and say, hey, looks like his car broke down, it's raining, and the propensity of him standing there in the sun and ordering a burger is not happening. I mean, coming to McDonald's is not happening today. So you can change that behavioral pattern. But all that calculation is being done real time because of quantum computing and artificial intelligence. Those are called insights. Remember this word, insights. Those insights will change the way you market to the world and the way companies will spend money. So we've covered IoT. We've covered what happens with IoT. It goes through 5G. From 5G, it goes into quantum computing. And from there, you come to artificial intelligence. And it gives you your data for marketing that you can buy for if you're a company, or you can sell to companies if you're a marketing agency or a research firm. And that really helps you to be able to get top dollar for your company, right? So you can see how things will change. And like I said, singularity, when singularity happens, what happens is it's a hypothetical term, right? It's not real. It's a hypothetical term because it hasn't happened so far. But it's a hypothetical term where you have runaway progress on technology that will far supersede what you're doing as a human being. And the level of control of the human over the computer is going to change, where the computer will be controlling the human. So it could be a good thing, it could be not a good thing, but at the end of the day, you can't stop it. It's going to happen. It's on its way. When it will happen, nobody knows. Some famous scientists have said 2030 to 2050, and that's 20 years from now. Think how old you'll be. You guys will be still younger than I am today. Think about it. Think about it. So you will have to deal with the level of singularity. When you're talking about that, your life will change. So the thing here is be able to garner as much knowledge as possible. And that's the other thing Dr. Anwar was chatting about. You know, it's all about learning and getting information from somewhere else. It's all about information. You come to college and school, you pay a certain amount of money, you sit in the classroom, and the reason you give your exams and tests is to be able to corroborate the fact that you have sucked in all that information, right? If there were no exams, it would be, thank you, Dr. Anwar, I promise to remember whatever you said till I die. Yeah, but you don't remember it right now. So I'm going to give you a test. I'm going to check to see whether you remembered that. It is called storage of information. So when you're paying your tuition and fees, you're paying to check and verify storage of information, right? Don't you go to your iPhones and open your gallery and you see the photographs of all the and every time you take a photograph, let me have a look at my photograph. That's not good. My hair is looking bad. Let me try another one, right? You were checking for storage of information. That's happening with you right now. And that's where you come to college, or that's where you get the information online. You can get, you get online education, or whether you get it in college or school. But the important thing is storage. If that evaporates, what happens if after some time you go to your iPhone and you look at the photographs and the photographs just evaporated? I don't think you're going to be happy. Or you go to your Facebook page and all those wonderful Facebook texts that you put up there, and all the likes and dislikes over the last 200 years, and nobody really cares after some time. But guess what? Imagine if your Facebook page went off, just flew off the planet Earth. You would go crazy. As if, it's your life support system. Your God, I lost a kidney or something. But bottom line is, at the end of the day, you got to remember that. You got to remember this information. You cannot afford to forget things. It's like losing all your photographs on your iPhone. So be very serious about what you're learning in college and school. And it is going to be tough. You got to learn to struggle to keep that information in your head. And again, there's no such thing as useless information. Any and all information will be useful at some point of time. Some folks say, I'm just taking this class because, you know what, I just need credits and I'm getting out of college. I bet a lot of us have thought about it. I thought about that, right? There are even language classes I took, not in college, but in school. And I said, yeah, it's easy. I'll just take it so I can get some easy grades. Fast forward a few years from now, I'm negotiating with folks. And guess what? You have the language skills. You can make things happen. So there's no such thing as useless information. Truly, it's your perception of what the information is that makes it useful or useless. When you're fighting against a machine, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, when the machines rise, and they will rise. Dr. Anwar and I were having lunch right now, and he was saying something, and I've got Bixby on my Samsung phone, which is artificial intelligence. Siri is artificial intelligence. Alexa is artificial intelligence, right? Google is Google. Hi, Google. Okay, Google, tell me what the weather is. That's artificial intelligence. And he said something, and it actually gave the answer. And I just showed it to him. I said, look at that. You see that? You didn't even know what was happening, and it already got you the answer. Now, today's artificial intelligence has got the equivalent of 10 million neurons. Neurons are the cells in the brain that connect to each other, right? Today's artificial intelligence, that what you have with Watson, IBM Watson, which is like the big one for artificial intelligence, as well as, Google and Amazon, that's 10 million neurons. You know how many neurons do you guys have in your brains, or we all have in our brains? 86 billion. And we do 150 trillion calculations all the time. And we are humans. And it's like, what's the big deal? I'm hungry. I saw a hamburger there. I know it's going to take me 2 seconds to walk that distance, go pick it and eat it up. And I know in my mind that once I take a couple of bites, I'm going to be in a good shape. I'm going to be happier. That's all information. And that is all done with 86 billion neurons in the human brain. And we are using Siri and Alexa and all that stuff with just 10 million measly neurons. So what I'm saying is we've got a ways to go. But that ways to go will change when we go from digital computing, which is ones and zeros, to Evelyn being everywhere. She's going to remember this. She's like, I am the machine. But that's important. It's really important to understand. That's why I said things will come in like a tsunami, guys. And along with that, again, this is because this is an AMA event. That's a tsunami of knowledge or information which will help us create new products, develop new processes, be able to do remote surgeries, be able to create customized medicine. You go today, you have a sore throat, or I'm not a doctor, sorry, but I say, if you're feeling sick and you say, I need my antibiotics, I go to the doctor, I get a Z-Pack. You go get a Z-Pack, you get a Z-Pack, I'll get a Z-Pack, we all pay the same 10 bucks for it, we go home. There's going to be no universal Z-Pack, no universal Tylenol. It'll be used with your DNA, and your DNA will be put on file. And any changes to your DNA will be also on file. It'll be done without your knowledge. And bottom line is, when you want to go, when you're not feeling well, have you seen the new tattoo that has come in, an IoT, like a tattoo? So you can have an IoT device, just like the style device, but tattooed on your arm or on your body, and it'll constantly send out information about your health. It's already out there in experimental status. So it'll automatically register and you'll get a beep on your phone saying, go to Walmart and get your customized, genetically produced Tylenol. That will work with you better than it'll work with somebody else. The tattoo is already available today. The chip is available today. So just to let you know, a lot of new developments are happening which will totally change the landscape. You've got to be ready for these things. And it's going to be a very exciting future. It truly will be. Any questions so far? So we've covered everything from IoT, 5G, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, what to do with that. And I think the last most important thing are the ethical and moral and legal issues that come along with that. The word privacy is going to change. When you say now, Facebook, see what's been happening at Facebook today. Mark Zuckerberg is in the Senate, right? And he's talking about privacy issues. Fast forward 20 years from now, you will laugh at that. It's like, privacy, what privacy? There's no privacy. You've got to pay for privacy. Even if I pay for privacy, there's no privacy. You're being tracked everywhere. So what's the new version of privacy? What is important to you? There are ethical things, there are moral, there are legal implications. So these things will spur different types of marketing, legal marketing, different types of moral marketing, ethical marketing, and there will be legal ramifications and dollars behind that. There will be law firms just setting up, practice and making money based upon these new definitions of what is legal and what is not legal, what is ethical and what is not ethical, right? So bottom line is right now I mentioned about genetically modified medicine, so you can get your customized genetically modified Tylenol and your Z-Pak or your cough medicine that will work for you really fast. It might not work for me or for somebody else. What happens if that information is not shared? Everybody says, oh, we don't share information. But remember, that information has gone from you to that location. On the way, if you went and had a burger and if you did something and it really screwed up your cholesterol, and you wanted to find out your cholesterol, then that information is coded along with your genetic information, right? And that's what is called blockchain. If you'll understand what blockchain is there with Bitcoin right now, blockchain is very simple. You take the information that you have, you convert it into ones and zeros or codes, actually not really ones and zeros, but it's into a code. You take that code and then you put, that's a block, create a block, and then you put it in the chain, you send it down a pipe, and along with other people's information, and that is already coded. Somebody else already has that information. You make one change to that and everybody else would know that something went wrong. That's why blockchain is being used. Blockchain is going to be used everywhere. You're not going to go to the bank anymore, guys. You're not going to have a bank account. You're not going to have a PayPal account. You're not going to be paying with PayPal or with your credit card. You'll be playing with blockchain. And when that happens, to get that information to blockchain, somewhere along the line, somebody somewhere out of those billion people who touches your blockchain or doesn't touch your blockchain, that information will go to the doctor or it will come out there and where's your privacy? You will be actually coded into a blockchain. Your genetic structure will be coded into blockchain. That will be marketed by somebody somewhere. So the question is, what is privacy? We don't have an answer for that, obviously. What are the ethical things to do, moral things to do? And that's the sign of the times. In 2018, this sounds ethical and moral. 2030, things are going to be different. So we got to understand, but be very aware when you go up, when you get your degrees and diplomas and you leave WT and you walk off the stage and your first job is, I need to go and get a job. Because my mom and dad are going to say, we spent all that money on you guys, now you got to go and get your own jobs, right? And you get a job, don't think about your first job. Think about what's going to happen when you have to deal with blockchain and other things. What will happen is instead of sitting every day and saying, oh, I need to go and please my boss today so I can make $20,000 a month or $100,000 a year. Instead of doing that, you'll say, am I wasting my time in this place and not learning anything, or should I go somewhere else and go to a job that will give me a future or at least a runway to get to that type of a lifestyle? Now you have no excuse. You know where things are going to happen. You know machines are going to roll. Now you got to be smarter than the machines. And we can be smarter than the machines. Truly, we can be. And the reason is very simple, is that that's the reason why we've evolved to where we are, right? So bottom line is this, is at the end of the day, when you graduate, make sure that you spend your time in a job or in the direction which is really going to get you somewhere 20 or 30 years from now. Because remember, there are going to be a whole bunch, billions of kids with the same amount of information. Even if he's from a poor village in Africa, he's online and he's getting the same, he's learning the same classes that you are. At the end of the day, it's going to be an even keel. So if you want to be successful in your life after graduation, make sure that everything that you do is measured. Do things with a purpose. Don't just do things mechanically just to get a job. And they say, follow your passion. And this is something which I always have a chat with my families and with my friends. Passion is one thing. That's always great to have a passion. I have a passion for writing books, but nobody is going to read those books. Focus on survival first. Focus on making money for survival, being solid when you're in your 50s and 60s and 70s, because you're going to have robots walking around. You will. You will have artificial humans walking around at that time. And you want to be able to retire in comfort and have some good fun. So at the end of the day, make sure, remember one thing, Evelyn is here and Evelyn is there at the same time. Right? So, any questions?
Any questions to Mr. Webb? He's over there. Let me ask you one question. Do we have AI in WT? When we type on our keyboards, do you guys monitor us?
No.
I read somewhere
No.
that universities are going for those kind of AI.
Now, I will say this. If you click an email that's a phish, and you get a virus on your computer, the virus could install a keylogger and then track what you're typing and send upstream the command and control to use that against you, but we don't do that.
There was a big article in Wall Street the other day about AI, that many companies started to monitor, watch, and just to increase productivity.
So there are things like what are legal today.
Yeah,
You got to operate within legal limits at this point of time. What I'm saying is in 2030 or 2050, that might be acceptable. Or you might have to sign off when you enter the company or the university saying, allow my key logs to be tracked. At this point in time, is illegal. But what James just mentioned is true. I mean, you have viruses that are there all the time that are hitting. You saw the number of virus attacks happening real time. Guys, that's happening all the time. I opened my daughter's a laptop the other day, and I showed her that in the last month, and we've got a totally sealed off, obviously being the geek, I've got a totally sealed off system for my family. We were able to, her computer got hit 20,000 times in a month. It was tracked, and I showed her, look, you got hit 20,000 times in a month, 20,000 times. And this is a kid in high school, and not that she's working in a research facility or working for the government or anything like that. So bottom line is it's very easy to do these things. You can have a 11-year-old kid sit in his grandmother's basement in Russia, just happily logging into webcams, into any IoT device. IoT firewall is really very important because at the end of the day, traffic cameras, your Nest cameras that are there outside your house. You say, hey, I've got a Wi-Fi connection to my cameras at home. Have you thought of putting a firewall on that? You don't put a firewall on that, and with deep packet inspection, that camera is watching you guys. That camera is tracking where you are in your house. That camera is checking your garage door opener, and you can easily have a click of a button, and this kid can do it on his iPhone and in his grandma's basement for free in Russia, and your garage door will open. So he can call up somebody in Lubbock or in Canyon or Amarillo and say, hey, listen, you pay me $40, I'll allow access to this guy's house. And then they're like, okay, I'll pay you $40. So instead of going around and casing the neighborhood and wondering where, this guy will sell you information and say, hey, listen, you pay me $40 and I'll give you around 4 houses. I know exactly when these people are out of the house. Just take your time, walk in. I even know the code for their alarm system. You see that? He's not even in America. He's not even in the neighborhood, and he's made it happen. IoT, if not behind a firewall, if not separated from the real world by a firewall, and really good firewalls, not cheap firewalls, guess what happens is going to be, they will be watching you. The machine will be watching you, you won't be able to watch the machine. And that happens all the time now, today. So it's all about being safe in the new world. It's a brave, great new world, a lot of advancements in medicine, technology, convenience, and everything. But we got to take it with its, with the right dose of salt and precaution. But great days ahead. Thank you very much. Appreciate everything. Thank you very much for coming.